This right here is why Bitcoin Cash wins. What gives something value? Anything that you want to buy or use, what gives it value? It's its utility. It's how useful something is to us. And that was the original plan behind Bitcoin. That was its original attraction, was how useful it was. It was used by people on free markets to buy and sell goods without outside interference, without third parties, without people knowing what people were doing. And that's the true meaning of freedom. But over time, that utility has been replaced by the seduction of getting rich, of just putting in some money, sitting on it for a couple of years, and you get rich. And it's a shame, really, because that's all it is now. There's nothing else backing it up. There's just nothing else there. You strip away that exterior and you say, okay, so what can I do with it? What can I achieve? Like, what value does it have to me? Other than potentially making me rich if I gamble, what can it do? And honestly, there's not much else there. And what the Bitcoin core maxes try and tell us is look at the worldwide adoption. Look at El Salvador. They're putting El Salvador up there as almost as a poster child. But the more we learn about what's happening in El Salvador, the more we realise that it's just one big corruption scam. People having their accounts, their wallets shut down, and the money in their wallets taken away, and like that absolutely blows my mind. But going back to the original Bitcoin, what then happened was all of the failings of Bitcoin, the things that were lacking in Bitcoin, were picked up by other projects, by other cryptocurrencies such as Ethereum and others. And what they did was they filled a gap in the market. They filled a demand. People wanted more. People saw Bitcoin floundering and not really offering anything exciting, but knowing that this new technology could give so much more. So people were excited, and so what these other cryptos did was bring new utility. They brought smart contracts, contracts you could lock and there's no human interference in them or human failings. It's just code, which was exciting in itself. NFTs, being for artists to be able to produce works that were non-fungible, but also nobody could fake their work. It was there. It was verified. It's an exciting field. In gaming as well, NFTs will be something used and traded within games of the future, and there's a few games now that are using that. But the thing is with this arena is it's enjoyed by a minority in the Western world. NFTs and similar technologies, they're enjoyed by people who have been in the space for years, who've had reliable electricity, reliable economies, have access to the internet for many, many, many years, for decades now. And these people are people who enjoy plenty, who enjoy decadence, opulence, the 7 deadly sins of greed and lust and sloth, and they enjoy a life that isn't at risk. There's nothing that they need to worry about. Generally, everything's provided for them, even if they don't provide it for themselves. But the people who live in developing countries, they have a different set of priorities, completely different. Their priorities are how to put food on the table, how to put a roof over their head, security. These are just the fundamental human problems and human priorities, which are still felt by people in the developing world. And so what they look for in a new technology is a different kind of utility, and the utility that Bitcoin Cash gives them is completely different. It's anti-corruption. It's security of not carrying around cash when you walk down the street and worrying that somebody's gonna rob you and take all of your cash. It's not having to go and wait in a queue, in a line to go and access your bank account for a day, which I experienced living in Colombia. It's not having a government that or banks that shut down the banks on a whim. Say, oh, we don't have enough cash on hand at the moment, so when there's problems with the economy, and so they shut down the banks, so they can't access their own money. It's these fundamental rights that people in developing countries want a better solution for, and they're looking for that, and they're finding it. Now, I just want to say that I use the term developing countries because to say third world countries is derogatory. Because after living in Colombia, they're not a third world country, and many of these other countries aren't third world countries. Third world presumes that it's something less than first world. Living in Colombia, the people of Colombia enjoy a greater freedom, a greater human freedom than we do in our Western countries, in the UK, where I'm from. I feel much freer living in Colombia than I do living here in the UK. So it's a different set of priorities. And so it becomes organic then when they're searching for something that is going to protect them against state interference, against corruption, against crime. When something like that is provided to them, which Bitcoin Cash does, then it solves a problem for them. And if you're going to provide any product to the market, if it solves a problem, you're already 3/4 of the way there. The rest is education. So as we speak, there are teams right across the world in so many countries right now who are either pushing adoption with merchants, or they have their own organization or their own business that is prospering by using Bitcoin Cash. And people are just adopting it at a rate of speed because it's solving their problems in their life. And it's brilliant. It's amazing. And so when people say, oh, Bitcoin Cash is dead and what Bitcoin Cash is going nowhere, either they don't know or they don't want to accept what is happening. That's the reality of the situation. So I wanted to give a shout out to some of these projects and some of these countries that have got big projects. And so things like when Lambo, when Rolex, all of these sorts of things, forget all of that, because these people have no concept of that opulence and that wallowing in greed and in all of these things that the Western world is afflicted by. They don't have that anymore. It's just living life and just prospering that way, prospering in a free market, being able to sell and buy. That's what they want. And that's where the real utility is. So here's some of the countries that people are doing some amazing work in. We've got teams in Nigeria, India, Venezuela, Philippines, Argentina, Thailand, Sudan, and Slovenia. There wouldn't be so many teams, so many businesses currently working with Bitcoin Cash and having dedicated to the Bitcoin Cash brand and name if there wasn't something big going on. If there wasn't something exploding currently, naturally and organically, without marketing, we wouldn't see this kind of this push, these businesses that are prospering in that space. We see a lot of other cryptocurrency projects throwing vast amounts of money into marketing, and I've heard people say in Bitcoin Cash in this space, we haven't got enough marketing, we're not doing enough to push the word out. In my opinion, it's not necessarily right now. It's not necessary. The adoption is happening. It's slow and steady wins the race. It doesn't need to be gimmicky. It doesn't need to be advertising and trying to convince people. The utility and the value of that is happening naturally, and that's what we want to see. Maybe down the line, marketing individual businesses, yes. Go for your life. If that's your business, if that's your organisation, enjoy it and get the marketing done, and that's your business. But the natural adoption is happening. We don't need to do anything. It's like planting a seed. You plant a seed, you feed it, you water it, but you don't need to do anything else. You don't need to put banners and put things all around it. It just grows. It just grows. Why? Because it gets what it needs. It gets food and water, and it grows because that's what it needs. And that's what Bitcoin Cash is doing for people in the developing world. So this is the reason that Bitcoin Cash wins, what I'm about to say now. 70% of the world's population currently live in developing countries. 70%. So that's 70% in these countries where people are looking for that utility that I've talked about. That natural organic utility that addresses fundamental human priorities. That's why Bitcoin Cash wins. Not because it's got a bigger marketing budget. Not because of hold and number go up. But because these people need this utility that Bitcoin Cash offers, and it's the best at it. It's the fastest transaction speed. There's no third party. It's as good as free to use. That's why it wins. Because it gives people something that makes their lives better. And yes, it will be adopted by the rest of the world. Eventually the rest of the world will have to come round. Why? Because 70% of the world's developing population will see the utility of Bitcoin Cash. So as they adopt and as people travel to these countries and realize that this shop uses Bitcoin Cash, this business, this service here, this electrician accepts Bitcoin Cash, and this restaurant accepts Bitcoin Cash, what's going on? That's when it'll trigger and they'll say, something's happening here, I'm going to start using it, because if these people are doing it, I'm going to do it too. And that's the beauty of it. That's why Bitcoin Cash will eventually become the replacement for fiat money. It will become the peer-to-peer electronic cash, because it's already happening and there's nothing anybody can do to stop it. You can have tantrums on social media all you like. You can cry your eyes out and say that Bitcoin Cash is dead and it's got no future. But these people who are adopting it aren't listening. They can't hear you. All they're doing is using it and telling their friends that, look at this, use this. That's what's happening. And it is what it is. I just want to give an honourable mention to there are projects in Western countries that are doing really, really well. There's the Bitcoin Cash City in Australia and Bitcoin Jason. So give a shout out to Jason. He's doing a great job out there. But it is what it is. You've got to see the bigger picture. All of the bows and whistles and frills and marketing and fun and memes and everything else that go on social media around Bitcoin, around the other projects, back and forth and fighting. None of that matters. None of that matters to the real story, the real Bitcoin, which is the peer-to-peer electronic cash. They're trying to distract what is really going on with the adoption of Bitcoin Cash, which is the real Bitcoin. So just follow these projects. I'm gonna list the projects in the description below. Follow them, support them, and just see what they're doing. See what amazing things they're doing, and the amazing things that Bitcoin Cash is allowing them to do. And you'll see that Bitcoin Cash wins.